We're living in a state that's led the nation in no king's protests, and they love a governor that just violated 11 voter decisions on this and directly violates the Constitution.
Zach Abraham, welcome back.
Good to be back.
Well, I was worried that you just quit and went and hid under a rock because last time we did a show, you talked about how you're going to leave Washington State and not pay the millionaires tax on income. And then the internet was like, the left-wing internet was like on you.
Yeah.
They were
that
big
was
mad.
that was a funny realization. The funniest part though is like the people coming after you going, "Oh, you're all talk, you're not going to leave." And I finally tweeted one of them. I was like, "So if I offered you $400,000 a year for the rest of your life to leave, you'd tell me you turn it down?"
Yeah.
Like, really? And none of them had any comebacks to that, of course. But it really is. It's a very surreal. I mean, we're living in a state that's led the nation in no king's protests, and they love a governor that just violated 11 voter decisions on this and directly violates the Constitution. But they're worried about kings. You can't make it up.
Well,
you can't. And I said to one of them on social media, I go, "You do realize that you can hate Trump and not like this tax at the same time."
No, Zach, that's not possible. No, they can only focus on one thing. Orange man bad.
Which somehow makes violating our Constitution and taxing rich people good. I don't like, okay.
Well, I'll play this clip from Bob Ferguson. So he had his bill signing, right? And this whole thing, he's basically saying we have to tax the income of millionaires because orange man bad. Here it is.
Washington, D.C. is taking us backwards. The good news is here in Washington State, we're moving forward, everybody.
Yeah. Forward right off the cliff.
One of the things that's been confusing to me, I've had a lot of these lately. So I remember I had a disagreement with my head of research when we moved the aircraft carrier into the Gulf, and he's like, "Oh, we're going into Iran." And I was like, "No, Trump's doing that for leverage." And the reason I thought that is just because I thought it'd be a fiasco, and I thought it'd be kind of like it's been. I also had a similar feeling about the income tax because I was just, it was so ridiculous on the face of it that you're like, "No, they're not that stupid. They won't do this." Like it's economic suicide. And then they do it and we call it progress. And it's the thing about, I thought Bob Ferguson was more pragmatic than that. And then I've watched this unfold and then I read more about his resume and realized that this is a guy, and I don't mean this as a slam, just factually speaking, this is a guy that's never done or accomplished anything in his life other than graduating from law school.
Yeah.
Right. He worked for a big law firm for a few years, and then he was in government politics by the age of 37, something like that. Okay. So and then he's in Washington State, of course, which is one party dominated. And anytime you get one party dominated, it always hits it always goes off the rails because there's nothing holding that other side accountable. Yeah. Right. And so these people have truly whipped themselves up into a frenzy where they think rich people are bad and we need to extract a pound of flesh. And because if you believe in math or gravity, I don't understand how you can back this. This is going to drive their revenues down.
Unless that's the plan. And that's the only thing I can think of that makes sense is they want an income tax on everyone. So the only way to sell it initially is through the income tax on millionaires. And then when those millionaires, that volatile tax base like yourself, leaves, then they're like, well, we have no choice. The millionaires did this and they all fled. So we have to tax you.
I just don't. There's not enough. You can't squeeze enough out of that turnip though. You can't make up the deficit if you lose. What is the top 1% in the state? Don't we make up like 50% of the tax revenue or something like that?
I mean, I'm sure it might have changed since Jeff Bezos and Howard Schultz left. Might be a little less than that.
Yeah, that would make a bit of a mark. Yeah. But it's significant. So when a good chunk of that tax base leaves, you just can't make that up, right? And again, I haven't heard anybody address the excise and the B&O taxes that you're going to lose.
Yeah.
It's not, if you look at it from, and that's why Seattle Times came out against it. And that's why I talked to several people who would qualify themselves as liberals, lifelong Democrats. I had a really funny story about our good buddy, Nick Hanauer. So a friend of mine was at some UW, get together.
Yeah.
Right? Like a reunion deal. He shows up there and he almost got jumped. They chased him out of the place.
Wait, Nick Hanauer showed up there and he almost got...
Yeah,
so Nick Hanauer, if people aren't familiar, he's the uber lefty political donor who like, oh yes, tax the rich. I've heard he's left the state or re-domiciled, but he showed up at some UW thing and all the rich people were mad at him.
Yeah, this is hearsay. So a buddy of mine was there. He said he saw this happen, but he said Nick was like, no, I'm not a Democrat anymore. I don't support them anymore. They went crazy and everybody's like, F you, man. You started this whole thing. And it's true. Like he is a perfect example of the modern liberal party, which is we're going to make a mess somewhere and then we're going to take our money and leave it. Yeah. Right. And I'm just like, guys, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. It is the definition of cutting your nose off to spite your face. We hate Trump, so we're going to wreck our own economy.
Yeah. Well, they're at least going to use Trump as the excuse, right? And so many voters here will buy it. That, oh, yeah, they had to do this because Trump cut X, Y, Z. It's like, no, they've been spending themselves into a deficit, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, Governor Ferguson, I really believe this. Not only has he turned into, in a year and a half, the worst governor in Washington state history.
Yeah.
He might be the worst governor, like in terms of doing the most damage in the shortest amount of time. I don't know there's ever been a governor of any state that could compare to the amount of damage in a year and a half he'll have done to a state.
I agree. And like my whole point to people is, guys, there is no other again, it's so bad, Brandi. There isn't a deeper strategy behind this. It's as simple as eat the rich. It is that base level. It's straight out of Marx. I mean, because it's so. If you have any level of economic competency, you would understand this is a disaster. Meaning, people aren't even talking about the impact on investing. Okay, what I am telling you is that if you're a Washington-based startup, you're not going to get invested in. Mm-mm. Period.
No.
And the reason why is you can even trust the California state legislature more than you can trust the Washington state one. And you don't put money into a company when you don't know what the economic outlook or what the legal reality is with that government that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, when we first started talking about this, they broke the contract. And you can't, like, even if I had a great startup that I was really excited to invest in, I'd look at them and go, get reincorporated in another state and we're in. Yep. But I'm not putting money in play in that state. I can't trust them.
Yeah. And as we've talked about many times, I don't believe that environment and mentality is fixed by even a repeal of the income tax at this point, because it's so far gone. And the trust, as you said, the trust is broken. It'll take decades to rebuild it. And a lot of people aren't going to wait around for that. So anyway, that's crazy.
The other thing that I warn people too, and I'm talking to my investment buddies that run firms all over the country. It's not just the politicians. They're worried about Washington voters.
Yeah.
Like that's the other part of it where they're like, it's not even your government we're worried about. It's what other crazy stuff are your voters going to let them get away with? Like we don't trust any part of it. And that's why I said, look, I hope to remain living here. But if I do, my business will not be domiciled in the state. Now, I'll still pay all my taxes in the state, so nothing will change as far as that goes. But I cannot have my business located in the state. I can't do it.
No, it's suicide for a business. It really is. It's insane. Yeah. All right, let's do a little watchdogging. So there's been, I think, a renewed emphasis on fraud, on investigating and uncovering fraud, which I love for America. Maybe a little bit of that started with the concept of Doge and some of the excitement and revelations as kind of failed as Doge was ultimately. I think some of the revelations that Doge brought to light of some of the insane stuff our tax money was going to overseas, kind of lit a fire under investigative journalists. Nick Shirley has done a lot of this, as have others. Mm-hmm. So the Treasury Secretary is now reminding Americans, and they're amping up a program that has always existed, but to a greater extent, that if you are able to help them prosecute fraud that involves federal money, and that money is recouped, you can get up to 30% of it. So Besant says, President Trump has been clear that Americans have a right to know that their tax dollars are not being diverted to fund acts of global terror or to fund luxury cars for fraudsters. At Treasury, we follow the money. We did it with the mafia. We've done it with the cartel, and we're doing it with the Somali fraudsters. We're going to offer whistleblower payments to anyone else who wants to tell us the who, what, when, where, and how this fraud and money laundering has occurred. So they've got the Office of the Whistleblower. It must result in enforcement action by Treasury or DOJ. And it has to result in monetary penalties that they can recoup above $1 million. And if you do that, you can get up to a check from the government for up to 30% of the money they recoup.
I love it.
Let's go.
I love it. And a little side note that my little burst of social media fame or whatever that woke me up to again was the amount of hatred out there for Doge.
I know.
Is just, it is such a head scratcher.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey guys, you realize like any reduction of fraud is good for all of us? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Oh, how dare you go look for fraud? And you're going, what? This is really bipartisan, guys. And I'll tell you, I'm being honest. Like, I don't have a theory here. It's just really caught me off guard. Yeah. I got that thrown at me so many times. Oh, the guy that's talking about Doge. And I'm like, and? Like,
well, they also
what?
vilified what Nick Shirley did in Minneapolis. And all the guy did is go knock on doors and show you what was there when he knocked on a door of a place subsidized by the government. And people are livid. I mean, he was getting death threats. He had to hire additional security. Like, people have lost their minds.
I know. And I got in a back and forth on this with Twitter with a liberal yesterday. And she's like, I could never support a party that wants to take away my legal right to vote. And I went, what?
are you talking about?
What are you? And then she posts some no-name anonymous Twitter saying something about repealing the 19th Amendment. And I'm just like, lady, if you're such a Trump hater or such a far leftist, you should be hoping that the Republicans do that. Because you know what that would be the end of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Done. You guys win everything going forward. Like, you should be hoping they do that. And that's why it's ridiculous.
Well, and also, I'm sure she went to a No Kings protest where they're calling for the ouster of a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm sure she also supports the income tax, despite the fact that 11 times voters here have said we don't want it. And so give me a break about the defending democracy. Although I would support the repeal of the 19th Amendment on one condition. It only applies to the women with blue hair and or a nose ring.
Yeah, well, yeah,
they can't vote anymore. But the rest of us can.
If you got a septum piercing, that immediately exits you out of the democratic process.
Yeah, I almost think and blue hair. So kind of maybe it has to be both, like nose ring and blue hair. You can't vote anymore.
Yeah, we'll spot you a septum piercing.
Yeah. Okay, good.
But if you combine that and go blue hair, it's all over.
Yeah, sorry, you lose your right to vote. So anyway, I think this will be really interesting because, I mean, think of, it's not just with the whistleblower thing, you know, the citizens or investigative journalists who go and try to find some of this money. Think about the people who have like a nexus to the fraudsters. You know, it's a family member and you know they're deep into fraud. You know they're defrauding the government. You don't think they're going to snitch? They are going to snitch so fast and get a cut of that money.
Oh, I love it. And the scope of it is so large. I heard a stat. Now I'm not an expert on this, okay, but from my recollection the numbers are on. That it was either prior to COVID or in 2022. What is it? Medi-Cali is California's medical deal, insurance deal, all that kind of stuff.
That.
So in 2022, the budget for that was like $115 billion. Okay. Today, it's $220 billion, and they've had no population growth.
Illegals?
They've had no population growth.
Well, maybe illegals that are dodging the census?
I mean, that and fraud.
Yeah, fraud.
Right?
Well, fraud, yes.
Yeah, like just that, but there's no other way to explain it.
Yeah.
And the one of the things that shocked me, and not because I understand blue dominated states, they don't want to admit this happened on their watch, but the citizens push, like the liberal citizens push back against it. I'm like, guys, if somebody's robbing your house, do you ask them what party affiliation they are?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Right? Like you and I have talked about before, this doesn't mean you've got to vote for a Republican, right? Why don't you vote for somebody that doesn't break the law?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
right? Like,
and you care about all these programs and stuff. Oh, the kids and schools and fully funded. It's like you could do so much more of that stuff you say you care about if you eliminated the fraud, the money just being defrauded.
or if you really wanted to make it like that, let's figure out a public-private partnership, because here's what I will guarantee. If your goal is to provide meals, which I think is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Like, first of all, how many kids in the state actually need that? Okay. So providing it for everybody, what a joke.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just a joke. Probably a good 50 to 60% of the kids won't even be allowed to eat it. Okay. Right. Like, just because their parents are like, no, you don't need that. I don't want you on the eating that crap food and all that kind of stuff. But if you wanted to do that, like, these people are so averse. Did you see the one he put out about real estate? We're going to pass some laws that's going to lower the cost of real estate. We're going to get creative. And I'm looking at him going, Bob, it's called a free market, dude.
Yep.
Reduce the regulation. And it's like they don't believe any economic theory. They don't believe any of it. It's like they think we all just made it up. And I'm looking at them saying, you don't understand economics, Bob. If this was truly your goal, which makes me more sympathetic to the whole conspiracy side of it, because you're like, maybe there is a deeper plan. I honestly just think it's ignorance and stupidity, though, just because it's so dumb. But you're like, just why can't you just acknowledge that free markets work? And they fill the hole faster than anything will.
Well, he pretended to be that person when he ran for office. So he
Oh
just
my
blows
gosh.
with the wind. He blows with the wind, and he's become this lazy, just blame Trump and I'll stay in office sort of person. All right.
Well, I think, Brandi, though, I think that the blaming Trump has heated up since this income tax went through.
Oh, for sure.
I think he's feeling the heat.
Interesting.
I think he's feeling the heat. He's talking about Trump nonstop now.
He always
If you're
has,
not-
though. He sued him like 100 times when he was the AG.
Yeah, even in his public, like it's getting more direct in my opinion. He's like, we'll never bow the knee to Trump. He's said that before, but more obvious. He's putting out more of his happy, nonsensical videos. I think he's feeling the heat.
I hope
think he's feeling the heat.
Let's turn it up. Let's keep going.
The one dangerous thing about him, though, is he's an ideologue. He's gonna roll with it until he can't.
Yeah, or until he's out of office, it's not his problem anymore.
Yeah.
Let's end with this, making some money moves. This is from the Economic Times. U.S. recession 2026, 40% recession risk, oil nearing $100, rates at multi-year highs. Is the crash now a question of timing, not if? So there's been a lot of doom and gloom articles saying we are absolutely heading toward a recession. I feel like people have been saying that for a couple years. Is that, what do you think?
It depends. If they're talking about the broader economy the way it is and talking about, job losses and AI and things like that, take that opinion and throw it out the window.
Okay.
If they're saying that we're looking at a recession here in the US or globally because of what's going on in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, I will be very surprised that this does not end up in a recession.
If it doesn't end soon?
Even if it ends soon, the damage you're doing underneath the hood of the global economy is immense. There are going to be people on the right that hear me say this and think that I'm anti-right or like I'm just because I'm telling the bad news side of it. I'm not. I manage money, and so reality on the ground matters to us. That's what we're focused on. You've got Australia is a very big food producer. Their farmers are out of diesel. They're not going to plant unless something changes very soon. You've got massive helium shortages around the world. You may very well hear of people not being able to get MRIs because of that. You're having fuel rationing in parts of Asia. You've got 10 million barrels of production that's been shut in. So even if the strait opens, you're still producing 10% less oil than is required. You've got almost record low storage because of the storage rundown post-COVID and then everybody dumping their SPRs. You're seeing aluminum prices fly up because smelters in Israel just got hit. This is not good. Yeah. And the knock-on effects, we're just starting to experience them. The stock market is as disconnected from reality as I've ever seen. I will be shocked if this market doesn't drop another 15 to 20% if this does not end in the next 3 or 4 days. You're so disconnected from reality right now. I've never seen a stock market this disconnected.
But I mean,
period.
Trump, I think we both agree, has been a good, savvy businessman. and has been great on foreign policy. So surely he's seeing the writing on the wall.
I hope so. Look. I'm not a liberal, and so I've got a commitment to the truth. He walked into this.
Yeah.
Like playing it. And Brandi, you can go back and run the tape. We were saying the day this went down, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is not good. The Strait of Hormuz is going to be a problem. You're not going to be able to open it. So what it leads me to believe, Trump is not stupid. I think he got some really bad advice. And Israel probably had some influence on him. I'm not anti-Israel. My last name's Abraham. I feel like I've got nut jobs all around me here. You know what I mean? Like I'm not any part of that. I'm just assessing the reality of what's going on the ground. And I will just tell you that what has happened up until this point, and there's not an ounce of hyperbole in this. This is the greatest energy shock in the history of modern economics. Full stop. Okay. And the fact that we're all walking around like, is this going to be bad? Oh, yes, it's bad right now. And I think the only way you get out of a recession is if it's not a technical recession, meaning you still have positive nominal growth. So you could have a scenario where maybe global growth was like at 2%, but global inflation was running at like 7%, right? So you'd be like, oh, the economy's still growing. And you're like, that's negative 5% real growth, man, right? So I don't want to be, I think if this ended in the next really short period of time, I think you could get past that. But there's been permanent damage done. Here's the one thing I'll tell you too. There is no going back to normal after this. This will forever change the way that oil gets transported around the world. They're going to develop new export lanes. They're going to probably build new pipelines. But remember, the reason they do it the way they do it now is because it's the most cost-effective way to do it.
Yep.
So what does that mean? It means we're looking at higher energy prices for longer. That means that everything that energy goes into will be higher for longer. It's not good, Brandi. This is getting worse by the day.
Yeah, well, that made me sick to my stomach. Thanks, Zach. I know.
Nobody's talking about it, and I don't want to be the harbinger of bad news or the bearer of bad news, but it's really bizarre, Brandi. It's like everybody's walking around with blindfolds on, and you're like, guys, it's not if something goes bad. It's going bad right now.
Well, I think the people who would talk about it are the ones who are loyal to the president in the sense that they know that if you say something critical of him, and this is just true, like now you're persona non grata, and I think there's that concern, right? That fear from the right of speaking truth. I mean, there have been some conservative commentators who have come out and said, that have broken with Trump on Iran, obviously, but aren't talking about, the oil because they're just not experts in that area. But all right, Zach Abraham, thank you so much.
Thanks. Fun as always. I hope I didn't bum you out too much.
No, I'm always bummed out. I'm in a perpetual state of bummed out. So
I know we need some good news, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We'll work on it for next time, okay?
All right, sounds good.